So, Lyndon, you're from the Cliff, and many years ago, you had the vision of actually going to the Cliff, and you knew that something was special about the Wilderness Reserve there. You went and bought a farm, and you again developed something which was really unique. And out of that came what we now know as the Leopard Trail, which is sharing the Cliff Mountains and wilderness with a lot of people. And it has grown significantly and incredibly over the last few years to become one of South Africa's greatest hikes. Now you're onto the next project, which is, again, the vision that you have of actually creating something special, unique, and sharing this with other people that they can be part of it, right? Now, why is the specific farm that you're on and what is now the Cedar Falls Reserve such a unique situation and position compared to, like, just the question, how can anyone get a piece of land in such a unique space? Because if I know that Cliff corridor, there are only a few farms. Maybe tell us, like, how many farms are there, and are they positioned, are they close to the reserve, and what's so unique about your one?
Oh, great. So I think the section of private land inside the Cliff World Heritage Site Reserve is made up of about 17 different farms. And I think in the last 30 years, maybe 2 or 3 of those farms have changed hands. Otherwise, they've been in the same family for generations. So it's a very hard place to get a piece of ground. We were very lucky that we got a foot in the door 20 years ago. And it's been an amazing adventure for 20 years. I'm extremely grateful for our opportunity to be in this part of the world. The Cliff Reserve is the 3rd biggest wilderness area in the whole of the country, behind Galagadi and Kruger. So it's a very significant, very important piece of land, and in the middle of it is the strip of private land, private farms. Very hard, almost impossible to get a piece of land here. We were very lucky 20 years. The timing was just right. It was before the Cliff had become a household name, before people knew what it was and why it was so special. So our timing was just superb. The Leopard Trail you've mentioned, our farm in particular, the reserve Cedar Falls, it's no longer a farm, it's been rezoned to a reserve. Our reserve in particular, private reserve, is completely surrounded by the Cliff World Heritage Site Reserve. We don't have any private neighbors, and that really was amazing. It was an incredible opportunity to partner with the reserve to actually put trails into this immense true wilderness where there are no roads, there are no water lines, electricity lines. It's true wilderness at its heart, and we have a little piece of that in the middle, surrounded by the reserve. So it is truly a magical place.
I mean, we're going to get to obviously how you're going to set this up and who can be part of it, but as you said, the Cliff is now a common household name. You go anywhere and people know the Cliff. And actually, you now start talking about the Leopard Trail, and people know that as well, and they know it for the right reasons, right? Which is this vision that you've got of sharing such an incredible space with them. We know that magazines like Getaway, you look at all those different kind of like renowned hiking or out there publications are totally promoting what you're doing, and of course are celebrating what is happening out there. So it just, again, shows that there's this drive and a demand that people are wanting access to the special place. And we know that from the Cedar Falls Reserve, the people who stay there and live there and build there actually are going to have quite a unique access to this reserve. I mean, you maybe want to talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, it is one of South Africa's most popular hikes at the moment. We're running at about 80% over the year, a new group of hikers starting at least 5 or 6 days a week, very few gaps in the calendar. And I think part of the reason the hike is so successful is because the landscape is so truly wilderness. It is truly wild. And from the beginning, the vision for Cedar Falls was always to be a place for people who wanted to get out into the Cliff wilderness. So, I think the Cliff originally was very well known for its 4x4 route through the main road and for motorbikes, off-road dirt bikes going through the reserve. But there was very little access and opportunity to actually park, get out of your car, and either trail, run, mountain bike, or hike, but off the main road, actually into the mountains. And that was always our vision, is to create a space where those activities are the real reason you come here. And that's really the key principle of Cedar Falls Reserve. as a place for people to come and share. It's, beautiful location, lots of water, so great place in summer, swimming pools, etc., waterfall walks. But really, it's an opportunity to get out, to whether you're a trail runner, a hiker, a mountain biker, to get out off the dirt roads onto single track, true wilderness, and experience that in the mountains. So it's been a very special place, a great opportunity to develop those over the last 20 years.
I mean, one of your catchphrases was, the Cedar Falls Reserve is a place where you come in a car, you turn it off, and basically you don't turn it back on until you're ready to go home, because everything happens from that place. As you said, you've got access to mountain biking tracks, day hikes, overnight hikes, a whole range of different activities. So, anyone who stays and lives there in the reserve or visits there more often is really going to have access to this wilderness, which is actually a unique situation, because usually they're going to need permits and a whole lot of stuff. But now there's actually a relationship that's happening there, which means they can, really explore the Baviaans Kloof, which actually brings me to one of the words that keeps coming up for me, which is hassle-free. Like, imagine just arriving there, and then without a whole lot of hassle, you can do a whole lot. You've got access to a whole lot. And we know that it's not only just going to be the doing for these people who are there, but actually one of the things that I would know people would say is like, well, I like the idea, but for me to go and build something there, a house there, I just know nothing about this. I mean, that's far in the wilderness. I mean, I don't have the right teams. I don't even know how to design this. So share with us what your vision is around how to really support new residents coming in and making this a hassle-free experience for them.
Well, listen, nothing in the Baviaans wilderness is ever going to be hassle-free. We can certainly make it easier, but if it was completely hassle-free, it wouldn't be the Baviaans Kloof, because you'd be, to be completely hassle-free, you'd be needed to be parked next to a city. So, the vision was we always had two visions when we got into the Baviaans. But, well, there are three pieces to our vision. Number one was always to do it with local families. So to really forge relationships and have an impact on local families in the community, and have friendships and develop something that included local families. And to that degree, we've been very successful, extremely blessed. Willem and Marta were the first family we started connecting with and making relationships with 20 years ago. They're still part of what we do at Cedar Falls. They're actually central to it. And I think that's probably the most important piece in making it hassle-free, is that Willem leads the team on the ground. And he's a human being of incredible integrity and resourcefulness. He's lived in the Baviaans Kloof his whole life. And, I'm hardly ever there. We might be there one weekend every 6 weeks, but the place runs like clockwork. And that's down to the fact that there are teams on the ground who know what to do, who do it very well, who look after the place, and who are just really genuinely good people. So I think that's the first piece, is making sure that you have the right team on the ground, and that's certainly something we have here. And I think for people who want to become part of Cedar Falls and buy into it and have a house there and be part of what we do there, I think there's a massive certainty and security they get knowing that there's an excellent team on the ground that's part of the whole process. We certainly do have a lot of experience and a lot of contacts in terms of building and how to do it, and who delivers and who doesn't, and where you can find the right people, and who's the gas guy in Willamore that you can trust. So there are a lot of networks. You're not starting from scratch in terms of that process. Building in the Baviaans is always an interesting experience. A lot of builders won't come and build there because you have to, they have to bring a team who stays there away from their homes. There's not a lot of builders who are directly in the area, but once again, we know how to facilitate that journey for them and make it easier. So certainly, if you're going to do something in the Baviaans, it doesn't get much easier than how we've created it.
So, I mean, I still like the idea of as hassle-free as possible, right? Because you've built so many different kinds of styles. You've had different tradespeople out there. You've figured out how to make this work really successfully. So what would be the kind of person who would actually envisage is actually going to say, like, this is the place for me?
Sure. The easiest way to answer that is who've already told us they're interested. We let people know at the beginning of August that the vision was almost at completion. that the rezoning had come through, and if anyone was interested in becoming part of Cedar Falls and becoming a homeowner or buying into it, that we were available. And I think as of today, we're sitting at about 130 different people and families who have expressed an interest, and we've only got 7 spaces. So when we have a look at the nature of who are these people that have said, please give us more information, we'd like to know. There are people who have firstly mostly been there. So it's our network of hikers or guests who have stayed at Cedar Falls over the years, which means they already buy into the ethos. They already understand it is not a place that is dedicated to motocross or quad bikes or 4x4 trails, but it's far more about single track hiking trails, trail runs, waterfall walks, walks up to the top of the koppies, bird watching, flowers, being in the ecosystem. So it's really people who are looking for that, who are looking for a beautiful location that has access to different routes, different trails, and who I think the other part of it is because there is the Leopard Trail and it has a lot of tourism activity at the moment. It's also for people who might want to have something for themselves, but are very excited about the fact that when they're not there, if they choose to, they can also use that flow of tourists to generate income from their places by putting their house onto the rental pool. So I think it's a combination of that. It's people who for themselves are really wanting access to the beauty, to the mountains, to the trails, while at the same time, also from an investment perspective, people who want to be able to have their house rented out when they're not there. Not that they have, I think that's an important, it's a voluntary thing to join the Cedar Falls rental pool if you want your house on it, but you can also choose not to.
Well, I mean, I want to come back to that, but I think the first point that you're already making is a strong, I mean, you've already built a community, and you've built a community with the people in the Baviaanskloof, and you're now creating a strong community within that, obviously from Cedar Falls Reserve. So I assume it would be people who also want to be part of something that is truly unique, because there is just nowhere else like the Baviaanskloof where someone can actually be a part of it in such a way. But you mentioned now.
Sorry, can we just stop there, because you're making an important point. All the land that's completely surrounded by the reserve. So I'm talking about the heart of the Baviaanskloof, not pieces on the outskirts or bordering on it from the outside, but pieces in it. All of it is zoned agriculture, which means you can't subdivide, you can't sell off individual plots, etc. You have to, if you want to, you have to sell the whole earth. You can't sell off separate. We are the only place in the reserve that has gone through the process of that private land that has gone through the process of rezoning. So we've rezoned to open space and to tourism too, which effectively means we're a private nature reserve with individual title inside. You can't get that anywhere else in the Baviaanskloof at this point. In the future, who knows? It's a long process. It's taken us 4 years to get to this point where we can get it through. I think the fact that we are completely surrounded by reserve helped the decision-making process from the various government departments that had to approve the process. It makes far more sense as a private nature reserve than it did as anything else, including agriculture. So yeah, so I think to your point, there is nowhere else at the moment in the Kloof where you can get a piece of a plot to build a house and be part of a reserve, a nature reserve like ours, just because the zoning process doesn't allow it.
So you mentioned about this rental pool. Now, I'm an investor as well, so my ears pick up and say, well, wow, actually, you're telling me that I can live somewhere, I can actually earn money that's going to increase in value. So we know that there's a large number of hikers who come through, sometimes as much as 12 every day start, which means you could have, a lot of feet there, which means heads wanting, beds to sleep on. So there's a demand for accommodation. Now, you've already been in the tourism business for well into 2 decades now there in the Baviaanskloof, and you know what it takes to provide good accommodation, what is needed, how it looks, and to make money out of it. So you're actually offering in some way or opening up the possibility that if a resident there actually says, I would like to be part of this rental pool, that they could actually then maybe tell us, what does it mean to say that someone can put their house in a rental pool and earn money through that?
So at the moment, there is accommodation for hikers on the trail. There are 3 there are three really different accommodation options, each that can handle a group, and a lot of the time those are full. So there is space for a lot more accommodation to be able to be offered to tourists who are either coming for tourism perspective. That's a market we have Cedar Falls in general has not marketed or tapped into. So at the moment, 95% of people coming through the area, it's just the Leopard Trail is so dominant in terms of driving tourism that there's often never accommodation left for people who just want to come and spend a few days there. Because the Leopard Trail books, you're now booking 8 to 10 months in advance. You book your accommodation at the same time. So people who are wanting to come for a holiday, there's often just not space. So there is demand for more accommodation. So if you built yourself a house and you're not using it all the time, you can put it into the rental pool. We have a great marketing system, a great website booking system, and a company that manages the whole tourism process, the cleaning, the washing of linen, etc., the reception, welcoming people in. So it's a complete hassle-free, to your words, opportunity. I think, can it handle 7 new houses? Probably not immediately. It'll be great to have that as part of the rental pool. We probably won't fill them all in year 1 or year 2 or year 3. But I think as the marketing of Cedar Falls as a destination by itself, irrespective of the Leopard Trail, grows, I think there will be more and more demand for that amount of accommodation over time.
So if we're coming back down to, we're talking about building community, a certain mindset of what is the real beauty and value that you're unlocking in this Cedar Falls Reserve. There obviously are some kind of arrangements and regulations and guiding principles that are going to be really important for how people can build and what they can do. And obviously there's a document that actually articulates that and gives great clarity so people actually know how they're actually going to proceed with their build. Are there any kind of just summary points that you want to just mention at this moment that are important for someone just watching this quick view?
The main principles are set by our environmental impact assessment approvals plus our rezoning approvals. So they're externally set, and we obviously have to implement those. There's some, for example, size of each earth is set at 500 square meters, bearing in mind that there are no fences between the earth and the common property or the whole nature reserve. So, it's really just there so that you can put your house down, but you have access to the entire Cedar Falls Reserve. The house itself has a 250 square meter footprint that you can go up to that amount. In terms of environmental management of the whole reserve, because there are no fences between us and the Baviaanskloof World Heritage Site Reserve, those processes, the environmental management, are really determined by the Baviaanskloof World Heritage Site Reserve and how they do things. We're a very small piece of land surrounded by a massive reserve, so we're really guided, and the environmental management is coordinated with them. From a building perspective, we have existing buildings on the area that are some of them quite old, historical Karoo houses, 100 and something more years. So they have, to some degree, they've got quite a traditional feel. They've got the white lime wash walls, grey corrugated iron roofs, or the corrugated roofs. And we want to keep a similar feel, but we certainly don't have a very rigid architectural guideline. So if we'd like people to build in stone, lots of glass, wood, or white walls. We don't want houses that are different colors. We are looking for that same colored roof, the same dark gray, it's like a charcoal gray roofing structure color, etc. But other than that, there's not a lot of rigidity in terms of the design people can use. We certainly have some suggestions, and there is a homeowner's approval process. But it's, we're not there to make everything look exactly the same. As long as it fits in with the general feel of the place, there's quite a bit of flexibility.
So now you've actually put a lot of thought into the layout, where it looks, and you really catered for different people's wishes, right? The kind of views they might want. Do they want mountain views? Do they want valley views? Do they want to see cliff views, or more greenery? So maybe just articulate a bit more how you've spaced them out, and share a bit more about the thinking behind how you've placed them. Because if I was someone saying like, oh, this sounds absolutely amazing, number one, I want to be part of the Baviaanskloof a mega reserve in some way. I want to have my own footprint there. I want to feel like I'm a part of this. I want to access it. Like what else could you just paint for me to say like, yes, this is an absolute space I want to be part of?
So the Cedar Falls itself is about a 206-hectare valley, really valley surrounded. For most of the people who are interested have already been there, either as guests or hikers, so they understand where the valley is. It's in a valley surrounded by cliffs on all sides, kind of an elongated shape. The valley floor 20 years ago was agriculture. We've spent 15 years regenerating the valley floor. We still got a lot of work to do on that, but there hasn't been agriculture on it for 15 or 16 years. And the real principle is to put the houses around the edge of that valley, all overlooking either the valley floor or the cliffs on the other side of the valley. So there's one section, the main section, which has got the existing buildings, the existing tourism facilities. There are 2 or 3 of the earth that are in amongst those buildings, but they back into those buildings with the front all facing across the valley floor and to the cliffs. So the view that you have in front of you is very much the beauty where we focus. What is the front facing view on every plot? And how could we maximize giving people a sense of space? That way, even if on the back end or on the sides, they are close to other buildings. So that's very much been the approach, is to situate each earth that's available for development with a front-facing view that has some context of either to the cliffs or the valley floor or upper ravine or upper valley. And that's really the layout in terms of how we've designed it. There are some that are slightly, there are 3 that are slightly more spaced apart than others. On the other side of the valley from the main tourism building, and then there are some that are in amongst those tourism buildings. And so we've really gone with the principle of let's leave as much of the valley undisturbed as possible, and have the houses looking over it, or but let's not divide it exactly up and have a house everywhere, so that no matter where you turned, you'd always see a house, because we had kind of tried to distribute them evenly. We'd really walked away from that principle and rather said, let's try and give each house a view that in itself does not look onto a neighbor too close in its front-facing view.
So we have chatted about positioning of houses, but we actually haven't discussed like what actually is available. We've chatted some people that you've got a list already of people who've expressed explicit interest. Some have even kind of said, I want that one. So what is available, and what is the process that people need to follow now to actually say, I'm actually, more than just interested?
So there's one of the existing buildings that is for sale on its own earth. That's the Just for Two cottage, probably one of our most favorite spots. And actually, out of all the earth on the farm, it's the one that's most separate, most tucked away by itself. So it's a very beautiful, beautiful cottage, very popular amongst our guests as a tourism destination. So that is for sale by itself. Then there are 7 undeveloped earths, so another earth that have no houses on them. Of those, there is one that's a double plot. So in other words, it's got 2 plots right next to each other. The border is literally, they share a common border. And the idea was that there might be either someone from a personal reason they want a bigger house, or someone who, from a tourism perspective, likes the idea of building, for example, a retreat center or something that has more rooms than the 250 square meters of a single earth could offer. And by having that double plot, it gives them more space. So there is one double plot, and then the rest are single urban, and there are 6 of those that are also available. So it's the Just for Two cottage, the one double plot, and then 6 individual urban. There are 5 other plots that are undeveloped. However, those are reserved. We have donated 2 of those plots to 2 of the families from the community that we work with. And the Leopard Trail and ourselves will be working over the next year or 2 to build houses and transfer title. And then there are another 3 reserved for 3 other families, also from the local community. And over the next 5 or 6 years, there will also be, once again, through the Leopard Trail, as well as ourselves, building houses on those and donating it to those families. But in terms of the private earth for sale right now, it's the Just for Two cottage, the double plot, and then 6 additional plots.
So what is the process from here that you're wanting people to follow? Because I can imagine it's going to get, accelerated. There's not a lot out there, a lot of interest. It's truly, truly unique. What are you needing people to do to actually take this a step further and actually start going around securing their places? What is the process that you'd like for them to follow?
So by the time this video becomes public, the information packs will have been sent to people who are already on the interest list. And in there is all the more detailed information about the reserve, plus the plots and how the process is going to work. We have not appointed a estate agent at this point. We don't, we would only really do that if we needed to sell, like aggressively market and sell the plots. But, I think we have sufficient interest just from people who have been to the reserve over the years that it didn't make sense for us to use an agent. We have a conveyancing firm based out of George who will handle the legals and the financial transactions and then do the conveyancing at the title deed level. So our head of operations, Emma, she is the contact person. So if anyone is interested, they can reach out to Emma. We really do invite people to go out to the place again, have a look around, have a look at the different plots, see which ones might grab your fancy, which ones you like. Do a little bit more in depth. I think you'll probably look at it differently if you're thinking of buying than if you were just visiting. So you probably want to scratch around a bit more and find out a bit more information, which we'd welcome. I think the suggestion is for people to contact Emma, go spend a night or two again out in the reserve at Cedar Falls. And then it's we are still waiting before we accept offers to purchase. We are still waiting for a final piece from the local municipality at Graaff-Reinet around the rates. They have a delay on giving us what the new rate schedule is going to be, and we don't really want to accept offers to purchase until such time as we've got clarity on that, just from a transparency perspective. So we're giving people the information. People are welcome to let us know and put through offers to purchase pending the approval, but we're certainly not going to accept any offers to purchase until such time as we've got that rate clarity. So that's probably going to take us 3 or 4 more weeks. So by the end of September, we should have that in place. And then really it's going to be accepting offers to purchase. We might get to a scenario where we don't know. We might get to a scenario where there's quite a few people who have put in offers to purchase on a single plot. We'll have to figure out how to deal with that in a fair and equitable manner. But we'll deal with that when we come to it. Otherwise, really the best advice I've got to people is go have a look, ask the questions, figure it out, think it through, chat to us, start with Emma. She's the key contact person. But if people need to talk further, then we're always available.
So there we go, Cedar Falls Reserve, possibility of investing. We also have that phrase, which is, some people visit and some people live, in the Baviaanskloof. And this is really for the people who want to do both, actually. They have the opportunity to do both. And of course, even from an investing perspective, but like anything, if they don't act fast, well, they might miss out. And I again think that once someone buys here, they're probably going to hold on to it for a long time because you're just not going to get that opportunity again. So there we go. Thanks, Lyndon. All the best, and certainly look forward to going there again and again.
Thanks, Robin. Appreciate your time.